Somewhere deep in the Arctic Ocean, beyond where most maps bother to label, lies a forgotten island. At first glance, it's just a cold, lifeless stretch of volcanic rock. No harbor, no permanent residence, barely a road. But what if I told you this place once held military secrets, international rivalries, and a tragic chapter where 7 men were left behind and never made it home? This is Jan Mayen, a speck of land claimed by Norway, but shaped by empires, war, and a history most have never heard. It was once called Island X during World War II, so critical to the Allied effort that its very location was kept quiet. Beneath its black gravel surface are rumored deposits of gold, silver, and gas. And above it, a sky so often overcast it sees more than 240 cloudy days a year. Today, only a handful of researchers and soldiers ever step foot here. But the island's strange past and its haunting isolation tell a story that's anything but small. If you're ready to uncover the truth behind this mysterious Arctic outpost, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. Let's dive in. But Jan Mayen is more than just a name on an obscure map. Beneath its barren surface rises Berenberg, a towering volcano blanketed in snow, standing 7,470 feet tall. It's the northernmost active volcano on Earth, and the only one in all of Norway. Though it hasn't erupted since 1985, locals say it sleeps, not slumbers. Its silence feels less like peace and more like anticipation. To the south, jagged cliffs rise almost vertically from the icy sea, like frozen sentinels guarding the island's forgotten edges. There are no forests, no villages, just patches of moss clinging to gravel and volcanic stone. Walking here feels like stepping into another world, a place untouched by time, where the wind whispers stories no one stayed long enough to hear. And this is only the beginning, because buried in this island's cold silence are secrets no one expected to find. At the narrow center of Jan Mayen, where the land thins to barely more than a gravel ribbon, 2 hidden lagoons sit quietly, Sur Laguna and Nord Laguna. Frozen for much of the year, these still waters mark the quietest, lowest point of the island, and perhaps its most vulnerable. Because while the surface looks frozen in time, the forces beneath are anything but. This is one of the only places on Earth where warm and cold ocean currents collide in a fragile equilibrium. If that balance shifts due to rising temperatures or melting glaciers, Jan Mayen could be the first to feel the consequences. Scientists already call it a climate pressure point. But if the island is a warning bell, few are listening. What happens to a place so remote that even disaster might go unnoticed? And if Jan Mayen falls silent, would the world even know it called for help? No schools, no shops, no sounds but the wind. For the few who temporarily live here, military staff and weather scientists, Jan Mayen becomes a test of solitude. When winter hits, the population shrinks to fewer than 10. There's no town square, no streetlights, just a gravel road that vanishes into fog, and outposts scattered like forgotten chess pieces. But the silence is deceiving. Jan Mayen sits at the edge of opportunity, surrounded by rich fishing waters, and potentially by underwater fields of rare minerals and untapped gas. On paper, it's a treasure chest. In reality, it remains unopened. Why? Perhaps the cost, or the cold, or maybe something deeper. Because despite its strategic location and rare resources, every attempt to build something permanent here has quietly failed, as if the island itself resists being claimed. So the question remains, what is Jan Mayen really keeping to itself? The truth is, no one knows for certain who first stepped onto Jan Mayen. The records are murky, and that may not be an accident. By the early 1600s, Arctic exploration was no longer about adventure. It was about profit. Whaling was booming, and so were the lies. Competing powers, Dutch, English, even private companies, each had a motive to either exaggerate or hide their discoveries. Jan Mayen was no exception. It's entirely possible that maps were falsified, names deliberately misspelled, and voyages erased from official records. Why? To keep the island off anyone else's radar. And so, a volcanic island in the middle of nowhere became a phantom prize, rumored, disputed, unclaimed. For a time, it didn't belong to any nation, but to whispers and speculation. Some say that's what gave Jan Mayen its power, not what was found there, but what others tried to bury. What followed was less about exploration and more about silent conquest. By 1618, two rival companies operated on Jan Mayen under an uneasy truce, but the arrangement was temporary and both sides knew it. Behind the scenes, lawyers argued, shareholders turned against one another. Even the island's name in official Dutch records, Eiland in Kwestio, or the island in question, reflected the tension. This wasn't just about whales. It was about control, the ability to operate without oversight, to rewrite rules in open waters, and to quietly turn geography into profit. Yet amid all this maneuvering, one question was never answered. Who truly discovered Jan Mayen first? Perhaps that was the point. The island's true value lay not in who found it, but in who could keep others from finding out. And so Jan Mayen became something else entirely, a land shaped not by nature, but by secrecy. And the deeper we go, the more that secrecy reveals. Today, nothing remains of the copper furnaces or canvas shelters. The camps that once echoed with the clang of barrels and the steam of boiling whale oil have vanished, swallowed by storms, salt, and silence. Jan Mayen's western shores, once dotted with 6 bustling whaling stations, now lie eerily quiet. No markers, no graves, just black volcanic sand and winds that remember. The deaths of 7 men left to overwinter in 1633, claimed by cold and possibly trichinosis, mark the end of something larger than a season. They were the final breath of a boom that consumed itself. By the late 1640s, the whales were gone, hunted into silence. And just like that, Jan Mayen was abandoned. Not because it failed, but because it had been used to exhaustion. What was once a center of Arctic ambition became a void on the map. And for nearly 200 years, no one came back. As Nazi forces advanced across Europe, most outposts folded or fell, but not Jan Mayen. In 1940, as Norway fell under German occupation, the 3-man crew of the Jan Mayen weather station made a decision that would define the island's legacy. They stayed. Cut off from the mainland, outnumbered and overlooked, they refused to abandon their post. Instead, they kept the radios running, sending vital weather reports to the Allied forces. These forecasts, seemingly small, helped guide convoys, protect ships, and plan missions across the North Atlantic. In a war fought by armies, Jan Mayen fought with silence and signal. Recognizing its importance, British forces codenamed it Island X and attempted to reinforce it, though their first effort failed. When the crew finally evacuated, they destroyed the station behind them to keep it from German hands. Jan Mayen wasn't just remote, it was defiant, and its role in the war had only just begun. Though quiet on the surface, Jan Mayen never truly returned to obscurity. With Lorentz C transmitters pulsing signals into the Arctic skies, the island became part of something larger, an invisible web of surveillance, navigation, and geopolitical influence. Few spoke of Jan Mayen publicly, but in military circles, its coordinates were never far from the map. By the 1970s, radar systems, data links, and encrypted communication lines had threaded through its icy soil. And still, fewer than 40 people walked its ground. Today, snow samples are collected not just for science, but for evidence, tracking black carbon from distant continents, measuring sunlight that never fully breaks the cloud cover, and watching glaciers recede inch by inch. Jan Mayen listens, records, and transmits, but it never shouts. It has become exactly what history made it, not a place of discovery, but a place that quietly watches the world change. Jan Mayen is more than a rock lost in the Arctic. It's a witness, a place that has been chased, conquered, abandoned, and reclaimed by men, by nations, by time itself. Through wars, shifting empires, and forgotten industries, it has quietly endured. It never asked to be part of history, but it never looked away either. Today, Jan Mayen stands silent, but beneath its ash, beneath the snow, it remembers. And maybe that's what gives it power, not just the volcano or the military or the science, but the fact that it holds stories no one else stayed long enough to hear. So here's the question. If one island can hold this much history, how many more secrets lie just out of sight? And if you feel that pull to keep searching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.